Hey, welcome back everyone. Let's learn Dave Mustaine's rhythm parts to Holy Wars. So to start this lesson off, it's in E, A, D, G, B, E. Anyone that's trying to learn this out of the official Megadeth book, don't bother. It's completely wrong. It's terrible. So I've done my best here to learn this over the years, and watching Dave Mustaine in many lessons, over a long time, I'm a massive fan. Hopefully I can pass on the right way that he actually plays it live and in the studio when they first did it. So it starts off on the A string on the 5th fret, 5, 6, 7, and then down to the E, 5, 6, 7, then 7, 6, 5, 5, 4, 3, 3, 5, open. The first time he finishes with the 3 to 5 open. Second time he does 5 to 3 down to the F sharp. And the third time around, so hopefully all that is easy and you followed that. It's but the books all seem to get that part wrong. And it's not hard to get wrong because it's so percussive, and that the actual notes don't really ring out that easy to hear. I saw Dave actually do a proper lesson on that first few notes there, so that's exactly how Dave plays that intro. Then, so just to play all that piece at speed, the whole bit. And that leads us into that and that is just a hammer on from the 5 to the 7 on the A string between the pedaling on the E, and a pull off from the 10th to the 7th. And you notice between that riff he's hitting different chords. The first time he's doing an A to a B flat. Second time he's doing an F to a B. And the third time he does a B to a G. So as long as you just keep those sequences in mind, the A to the so. And then it comes down to that tail end where it starts on the. So that tail there goes from the B to the B flat to the A. And between each of those notes, you sort of, as you come back down with your pick, you sort of, you hit it with your hand as well as a little bit of a palm mute to get it. And after that B down there, it's just so B, G, F sharp, straight back into that riff. So that riff goes around twice, and the second time around it gets back to the, and you get straight back into the hammer on again. At the same time, on Marty's guitar part, he was doing the. And at the end of that one, it gets into Dave's part. And this is the way I've seen Dave play it mostly. He has changed it up a little bit over the years. Sometimes live he would finish on the 6th string on the E, but this is the way he's played it most, and he did it in the concert footage, I always go to the concerts that are closest to when the album came out, just so that Dave is playing it the same as he recorded it, because often riffs and songs evolve slightly over the years, and they don't play them the same. They might work out different ways, but this is the way it was on the album. And he actually does it starts on the 10th on the A string. So the second part of that riff is 12, 14, 12, 11. 14 on the A string. Then back down to the A string on the 5 to the 7. So to play that whole first part. So that's the second part of the tail that Dave does. It starts off the same. So 11, 9, 13 on the D. Then 10, 9, 12. So that whole part. Sometimes he hammers on the 5 to the 7, sometimes he slides up to it. I'll just play through that and then it leads us on to the next part. Right, that's a cool riff, and it's just a really chunky E, F sharp sort of. So it's sort of easy to follow. I don't need to explain it that much, and you go back into that main riff. Each time he plays this, you alternate from power chords to an inverted dyad. So the inverted dyad is like a 3, 2 on the B, A string, sorry. And so you can see how that just alternates back to the hammer on pull off. And between that, you're sort of chugging on the E and A strings. Yeah. So to finish off that riff and get into the main verse on the last time. Right, so this verse riff, you just got to play nice and loose. It's not that hard actually. It sounds a lot harder than it should be. I'll just play it really slowly and then we'll break down what the actual chords are that he's doing. Back to the start there. So it seems like a mouthful, but it's actually not too difficult. So let's do it. Starts with the 5, 6, 7. And then doing another dyad on the D and G string. So the 5th and 4th fret. That there is just an inverted chord shape that Dave does. I don't know the names of all these chords. I just know it's what he plays. So 6 and 4. And again, this one, the third time, is on the A string and D string, 7th and 5th. Just keep in mind, each time you play these, there's no palm muting on the notes, but you really cut them off and come down heavy on the E string. Right, and so the way that he's actually picking the E string here, it's then we go down to the F sharp, just on the E string there. And you give it a bit of a... And the first time, and you got to be really chunky with your palm mutes here. First time he's doing that diad shape that goes from the 2, 3, 5, then a few chugs, and he starts again on the 5th and goes 3, 5, 6. So and then it's 6, 5, 3, and on that 3 you actually do a pull off to he does the ascending part twice, and the third time you actually play a power chord on from the 6th, 5th, 3rd, and then you're straight back to the start of that verse riff again. So I'm just going to play that whole verse riff a few times, nice and slow, so you get the counts and the timing with the right hand, what you pedal. It's too hard to sort of explain each note. It's easier if we just play it slowly and you get a gist of it that way. And that's how Dave finishes that verse riff, just like the opening part, with the hammer on from the not the hammer on, and then Marty plays his acoustic part, which we won't go through this time. That's sort of like a lesson on its own, but it comes back into, I think, one of the coolest metal riffs that was ever written. You have a gist of that, but when we finish on the D, you give that D a bit of a vibrato if you can for the whole chord. So this part where Dave joins in, it's really cool. It's my favourite riff of the song. Got that? You don't palm mute those first few notes at all. It's sort of meant to be a little bit messy, a bit untidy, but you can hear all those notes coming through. And then you come down with that open A string palm mute. And then into that inverted diad. Alright, so this riff is actually a little bit tricky in the sense that it sounds like you should be palm muting that. It's a very powerful sort of riff, and it's hard to play that part right and clean the way that Dave does it. So for the palm mute on that diode there, you see that the actual chords are, if you could follow those few chords, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1 open. And then between each one, as soon as you've played those, you can't really palm mute with your left hand or mute any of the strings with your left hand, because you got to let the E and B string ring. So it's all got to be done with the right hand here. So I bring it forward a little bit, and just to kill those notes. And now for Marty's solos, what Dave's doing behind the solos, it's an open G essentially. But you're playing the G, the D, the G, and when you get down to the B string, you're on the 3rd fret. And you descend and you actually hit the open A as well on the descending. And then we're playing a B flat power chord. Okay, when we hit the B power chord, the B flat power chord here, we're just playing the B on the A string, then the D string, 3rd fret, G string, 3rd fret. When we get back to the B string, we actually go to the 1st fret there. So you could play it like that if you want. But I tend to, and the way Dave does it. And after you've finished, and you just start with an open E string and roll it up, 1, 2, 3, and you're back to the start. So on the G there, it's so that's where you stop and you do that, and he has the break. We start playing the back into that old riff again. But after we get to the C there and we let it shake, you stop playing and you actually do a harmonic on the 5th fret on the E and B string. So that's how that part is played on the record. And you get back into the same thing again for the 2nd verse riff. Marty's 2nd solo comes along and you repeat the same thing as before. And when that one finishes, you're into the very end of the song pretty much for Dave. Like before with that intro, you alternate from standard power chords to the inverted ones. Right, so to make that that percussive harmonic that Dave does there, it's just on the 3rd fret, just short of it on the open E. You don't want to miss it because you'll get the wrong chord, but it's on about 2.9, I think. Or 2. Yeah, 2. Oh, right on it. Right on the 3rd there. And you're not palm muting that. So how we actually pick that harmonic? Righto, so Marty continues to play that same riff the whole time Dave's doing the solo, but he drops out the natural harmonic in that, so instead of the... part that Marty plays as soon as Dave's just left there with the open E ringing out. Marty's going. He's not actually intensely picking all the notes like you think that he is. So Dave joins back into the song with that same riff as before, doing the... And then they just both start pedaling on that same riff, but it changes a little bit again. And they do that without any pauses. It's quite aggressive and it sounds cool. So the way that they both just finish off the song, last riff. Just nice and slow. So that's the rhythm lesson behind Holy Walls. Hope you enjoyed it and see you next time. Cheers.